I wanted to talk a little bit about the Pokemon Day event that happened yesterday. A couple of things going on there, but obviously the meat and potatoes was the Pokemon ZA game that they had announced last year, and they were kind of giving us an update. So my opinion on it is that it was significantly underwhelming. And I was kind of under the impression that that was kind of how everybody else was feeling. But after the video, I went into the comment section and everybody was praising the game for various reasons. I was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe, we've got a bunch of, Pokemon fans here that will kind of take whatever they give them. Let's check out other Pokemon YouTube channels that cover Pokemon, whether it be their ROM hacks or their new games or whatever it is. They do all things Pokemon. Let's check out their comment section. Went in there. It was kind of the same thing. And so I'm like, okay, now I'm scratching my head. I'm like, what's going on here? And what was sort of the nail in the coffin for me was I went to a YouTuber who I highly respect personally and has been developing games way longer than I have, and has an expertise that'll take a very long time for me to get to. He was praising the game. And that's when I started to think, okay, am I the only one here who thinks these things? Am I just going crazy? And so I decided to do a YouTube video. It's actually my first YouTube video on this channel on just me venting and ranting about my opinion about Pokemon ZA. And I'll touch a little bit about the rest of the direct later on this video. But really just wanted to focus on that because, we had been kind of waiting on this for some time. And for what we got, it's pretty underwhelming in my opinion. So, geez, where do we start? I guess I should talk about the things that I do like about the game. Number one thing being the Johto starters. Pokemon Silver, that was like my first favorite Pokemon game. Played it when I was a wee little lad, and to this day, it's still like my favorite region to play in. And so I was really excited to see Totodile. He's the one I always picked. I was really excited to see Chikorita. I don't think Chikorita gets enough love that she deserves. I get that she wasn't that viable in the game, so she probably just because of that didn't get enough attention for the rest of the main series. But she was still very cute and very fun to use. And I think now that a lot of people play Pokemon games because of how cute the Pokemon are, I think a lot of new people are going to appreciate just how awesome Chikorita is. So this is going to be cool. I'm really excited for Chikorita. So that's cool. The other really cool thing was Mega Evolutions. My latest favorite Pokemon game was the X and Y games. And I love that they brought out Mega Evolutions. I always kind of wanted a sort of like a Super Saiyan Pokemon. So this was really cool to see. I really like that they're bringing this back, and hopefully we're going to get some new Mega Evolutions. I was never a fan of the wristband that you had to wear. That didn't really make any sense to me. I think if Goku had to wear a necklace in order for him to go Super Saiyan, that would be kind of cringy. I just always liked the fact that it was just his work ethic and his determination that sort of brought out the Super Saiyan out of him. And I was kind of hoping that that was kind of solely it for the Pokemon, in addition to their bond with their trainer. But no, we need a wristband. So kind of stupid, but whatever. We got Mega Evolutions back. So cool stuff. So let's talk a little bit about what I don't like about Pokemon ZA. And truthfully, there's so much to not like. To kind of sum it all up, there was nothing really impressive in this game that justified the wait from Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to this. They announced Pokemon ZA last year, and they kind of set the impression that this was going to be a massive game. This was going to be something that we had never seen before in the Pokemon series. And then come this trailer and you see clearly that they're reusing models and shading techniques and texturing techniques from the previous game. I mean, nothing in here is new. A lot of people bring up the fact that there is the real-time combat. It's not real-time combat. All it is that you've got the Pokemon in their positions, and then there's some sort of like very simple pathfinding system that they've implemented that just makes the Pokemon kind of move in different directions. Yeah, maybe there's some script that, you know, gives them a chance to move away from a move incoming or something, but nothing impressive happening here. I saw a bunch of praises regarding the quality of the game. I saw people praising the fact that there were no glitches in the game. I know we got the Johto starters and we got the Mega Evolutions, but these are things that have already been built. All they have done is just take things from the previous games and put them into this one. And then it kind of begs the question, it's like, what were you guys doing these last 2 years? Because again, like, I kid you not, an experienced developer could probably, if you were to take a team of, say, 15 people, and keep in mind, Game Freak is like 200 people plus. If you were to take 15 experienced developers, they could have put this together, what we saw, in like 3 to 6 months. I kid you not. I kid you not. There was nothing impressive about what we saw for Pokemon ZA. Another thing that really stood out to me was how desaturated everything looked. The Pokemon themselves didn't look too bad. But you could still tell that there was some desaturation there. But in terms of the environment for the game, like the buildings, the streets, the water, oh my gosh, the water, just there's like no color. And it's a Pokemon game. They're supposed to be color. Like Pokemon is supposed to be like a colorful game. It's not supposed to look realistic in any way. And you know, you can say, oh, well, it's an art direction. No, it's not an art direction. It's not an art direction. Look at their Pokemon cards. Look at how they market the game. Look at the shows, the TV series. There's a lot of color. And there just doesn't seem to be any of that in this game. You could say, oh, well, that's just not, maybe they're changing things up a bit. Well, usually if you're going to remove color, you're removing sort of that playfulness of Pokemon. And that means you have to make something, the texturing and the shading needs to actually be rendered better. It needs to be higher quality. And like, I don't think we expect any of that from a Pokemon game, nor does it make sense. Like, it's supposed to be sort of playful looking and colorful and fun. That's Pokemon. In this case, they're going for almost like they're trying to make it look more real. And it's like, no. I think when the original Pokemon Legends Arceus, when they desaturated things, not that it looked good, because it didn't look good, but I understand why they were trying to do it, because they were trying to, I don't know, it was sort of like trying to set this sort of past feel, almost like everything was painted. Like it kind of made sense why they were trying to do it. I don't think they did it well, but it kind of made sense. But here today, with this game, kind of addressing what the YouTuber who I really respect mentioned about the game. Overall, what he was really saying was that their approach to developing this game was a lot less expensive of a game to run for the Switch. I think that's kind of where he was going at. And he praised them for that, which I guess is not wrong, because yes, the game is technically a cheaper game to run on the Switch, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. I guess it is technically better, but it's kind of like, all right, we took a pile of garbage and we made it a smaller pile of garbage. And I don't even think that's worth praising. And that's kind of what really bothered me about that video, was that he was like, bravo, Game Freak, like, way to go. I think if he would have approached it like, yes, this is technically better, but it's still garbage, I would have been completely happy with that. Some of the things that people have mentioned, one of them being that there was no glitching in the trailer. I don't remember a time where we praised the game for not glitching in the trailer, but I guess we're doing that today. So here we go. Yes, there technically was no glitching. So hats off to Game Freak. But there was definitely there was definitely a lot of skipping. And what I mean by skipping is that I think the best example for this from that trailer was when you saw the player go from the ground through this, I don't know, mechanism that brought the character up to the roof. The model basically did not respond well to that mechanism or that mechanic that brought the player up onto the roof. Although there is sort of like this little, animation that the player's doing when it's going up, it doesn't play well with that actual mechanics. Once that little curve happens that is going on the roof, there's clearly skipping. It's like the player's kind of going like this. There's like jittering going on as it lands on the roof. And they didn't really create an animation that fit with that mechanic. They just made it so that it looked like the character's floating. And this may be kind of like super analytical of me. And, people be like, all right, you're just looking for things to complain about. But I can almost guarantee you that this will probably not be the only thing that we see from this game that is just weird to play. And so I see this and I'm like, come on now. Like, you guys had time to make this better and you're kind of choosing not to, clearly, because this is what you're showing in the trailer. Like, you usually show the best of what you got in the trailer. Truthfully, I just think that they were trying to cut corners. I don't think that they were trying to really give this game any sort of identity. I just think that they had models that they ported from wherever they had it to here, especially from Scarlet and Violet. Which kind of brings me to my next point, is that this game, clearly they just reused a ton of things from Scarlet and Violet when it was already bad. It wasn't good. Why would you guys do that? Especially if you guys had, give it 2 years to develop this game. Why is it that all we're seeing is models from a previous game? It's literally everything that you see in this game existed in Scarlet and Violet. Typically, when you try to have these conversations with, I'm assuming it's modern Pokemon fans. I could be wrong. It could be people who have played all the older games too. I don't know. But they sort of tell me that I'm in the wrong and that if you don't like the game, just don't buy it, and your opinion doesn't matter and all this kind of stuff. And like, well, they're not technically wrong. It's just, the thing is I really love Pokemon. And so for me to see these things, it's just hard to watch. Like, it's hard to see a game that I look forward to playing every single year, and then I just know it's going to be bad. Something that my brother actually brought up to me that I didn't even think about was the fact that they really didn't mention anything regarding the story of the game. Which is pretty dangerous because, I mean, this is Pokemon Legends. You can see in the game that there are some buildings that sort of like tell you, okay, this building is relevant. It's a part of the story. But then 90% of the other buildings are just, kind of like placeholder buildings. Like they're just there to exist. They're kind of telling me that, yes, this is not a building that you can walk into. Like, seriously, like 90% of the buildings that you see in that trailer. And that was like a big problem that we had with Scarlet and Violet, that like none of the buildings you could actually walk in. And if there was a building that you could walk in, it really just brought up a menu for you to like purchase something. And so that worries me because I feel like, especially with Pokemon, that it's sort of like an RPG light game. There's supposed to be this immersion that's supposed to happen, that aspects that really make you feel like you're in the game. But as soon as you walk up to a building and it pops up a menu, it's like, all right, you just reminded me that I'm playing a video game. Thank you. I appreciate that. And obviously, like, you can't avoid menus. I'm not saying that that a game does, like, you can't submerge yourself in a game if there's a menu. I'm just saying that typically you can go into a building and then you talk to someone and then the menu pops up. But I can still go into the building. I can still see why this is a shop or whatever it may be. And we didn't get that from Scarlet and Violet. And I'm kind of thinking this is kind of what's going to happen with Legends ZA. I just wish that people would have a little bit more of an analytical lens when they're seeing this game. Not because they're trying to be a critique, because I don't even like critiques. I hate like movie critics. I enjoyed the movie, leave me alone. But in this case, where we've had such a, an issue with the latest games having such low quality, and then them having the audacity to charge us $60 for the game. Why are we not looking at this with a critical lens? Why are we looking at this and just being like, oh my gosh, there's Johto Pokemon, there's Mega Evolutions, things that have already existed. I keep repeating myself, but I just really want to drive that home. It's like their selling point for this game is the fact that there are Johto Pokemon and that there are Mega Evolutions and that there's real time combat. All these things already existed in the Pokemon series with the exception of the real time combat, but it's not even really real time combat. So why are we so impressed by this? Why are we so happy with what they're delivering? And why is this such a problem that we're criticizing a game that we love? Why is that such an issue? Why can't we just be honest? Like, it's not a good game. I know part of it too is because we are a minority when it comes to the people buying Pokemon games. Because the people buying Pokemon games, or the majority of people buying Pokemon games, are parents, grandparents, you know, seeing the game in the store and being like, yeah, I'm pretty sure kids like Pokemon. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think, everybody likes Pikachu, right? And then they just buy the game and then that's that. I understand that that is the majority and it's by a lot. Um, and so we're kind of fighting an uphill battle here, but I just don't think we should really give up like that. Because at the same time, if you think about it, those same people who are buying the game, it's not like they're playing, Pokemon Go. It's not like they're playing the TCG. It's not like they're playing the championship games. Or, excuse me, not the championship games. This is the only championship game. But it's not like they're in the competitive side of Pokemon. I just think that we're a much bigger number than you would think. And like, if Pokemon were to only sell, instead of their 20 million copies that they usually sell, the massive number that they usually sell, if they were to sell 12 million, that would be a massive dent in their wallet. And it would kind of like trigger them to say, yeah, we need to make a better game. Because unfortunately, money's the only thing that talks these days. And us Pokemon fans, we're the ones buying the product. We're the one giving them our money. And so it would just be cool. Like if we could just maybe just skip out on one game, let's just skip out on one game so that they can see us and be like, okay, so they actually really mean it when they say that this game sucks. Let's try to do something here. I don't know. I've been kind of thinking about this for the last few days. I think that there is sort of this petty matchup between Game Freak, the developers of the Pokemon main series games, and Nintendo. I think they really don't like each other. And I think the situation is like Game Freak is responsible and solely responsible for the games, the main series games. And Nintendo can't really do anything about it. And I know that sounds kind of weird because Nintendo technically, they're... this is kind of boring shenanigans here, but there are three companies that own Pokemon, the Pokemon Company, and it's Nintendo, Creatures, and Game Freak. And I'm pretty sure that division is spreaded evenly. However, Nintendo owns Creatures, and I believe they own part of Game Freak. So in the end of the day, it's kind of one of those things where Nintendo kind of technically owns Pokemon. If they sort of they have the most influence of what happens with Pokemon. However, I almost believe that Nintendo has no influence on what Game Freak develops for the main series. Because if you look at Game Freak's Pokemon games, and then you look at some of these other developers who are developing, sort of the spin-off games, you can clearly see that there's a difference in quality significantly. I mean, think about Pokemon uh, uh, Shining Diamond, Brilliant Pearl, Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. Think about those games. Yes, it wasn't exactly what we wanted. We weren't too excited about the game itself. But if you do play the game, you can tell that there's this massive cohesion going on with everything, and that the game plays really good. It plays really good. Look at Pokemon Snap. That game is gorgeous. That game is absolutely gorgeous, and it runs well, and it plays well. It's a great game. That was not made by Game Freak. Another one is the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon remake that they did. Not a Game Freak game, but it still plays and feels really good. But then the Game Freak games are not impressive in terms of their quality. And so what does that tell you? I feel like Nintendo, they do have an influence on the games that are coming out when Game Freak is not involved. They are the ones that are able to say, okay, this is good and this is not good. And then, the developers can make their critiques. But with Game Freak, there's probably something in their agreement that does not allow Nintendo to have any sort of influence on what they're producing. All the Nintendo is in control of is how they market the game and how they sell the game, and everything else outside of the main series games. That's kind of what I'm feeling. And it's almost one of those things where it's like, Nintendo's like, we need a game every year. Game Freak's like, we can't make a game every year. Nintendo's like, well, you got to figure it out because we need a game every year to, meet our numbers, whatever. And Game Freak's like, all right, fine. You want a game every year? Sure. Here's your pile of crap that we're going to give you every year. And Nintendo's like, guys, come on. This is terrible. What are you doing? This is not a Nintendo game. This is not a Nintendo quality game. And Game Freak's like, we don't care. You want us to make a game every year? Fine. Here it is. Here you go. And Nintendo's like, all right, whatever. Well, we're just going to market. We're going to give our best shot at marketing this game. I feel like that is what's going on here. There's sort of like Game Freak does not want to give Nintendo a good game because of the demand that because of what they're demanding from Game Freak. Because truthfully, again, Game Freak has the tools and the resources to make a good quality game. They do. I truly think that they are choosing not to because of this relationship. That's the only thing I can think of. And you could say, well, again, remember, you just mentioned that they have to make a game every year. And it's like, yeah, that's true. However, what they're producing, I kid you not, they could take a team of 50 people to make what it is that they're coming out with. And then the rest of Game Freak, they can use on rebuilding their tools, their infrastructure in regards to their engine or whatever, and make something that's really good that will allow them to make games in a shorter time, but it still maintain its quality. Because again, I am not against Pokemon reusing things. I'm not. I truly am not. Like, I don't mind them having to reuse things at all. It just needs to be good and needs to look good and feel good. That's it. That's all I'm asking. If they want to reuse stuff from a previous game for a new region that they're creating, that's totally fine. That is totally fine. I would not be mad if we had the same character models for the next 5 games, but it's got to be good first. I would not care if the environments looked the exact same. It just has to be good first. And I would dish out 60, $70 every year for that product. But it's just not good. And we've sort of accepted that. Um, I just, I don't know. Anyways, I guess we can talk a little bit about the other stuff that happened in this direct. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not even really good. I mean, obviously, like, I don't know, what is it? I don't really play Pokemon Go. The TCG card app is really fun, by the way. If you guys don't play that, you should definitely give it a shot. It's just fun to collect cards and then show your friends and stuff. And the cards look really pretty. Um, they put out a new pack, so it was kind of cool. But I'm still working on the other two packs. I haven't gotten anything good in the last two packs, so that was cool. But it's not good. I'm complaining again. The Pokemon Champions game that they're releasing. First off, before I start complaining about it, I want to say that I am super happy for all the people who have been waiting for this for a very long time. You totally deserve it. This is awesome for you guys. Very thankful for Pokemon for putting this together for the competitive side of Pokemon. Where I'm not happy about it is the way they revealed it, the trailer itself, because we've been waiting for years, and there was even some rumors about us getting remakes, not remakes, I guess remasters, like ports of the GBA games, the DS games, the Game Boy Color games. There were rumors that we would be able to play Pokemon Red version, Fire Red, Emerald, Silver, Crystal, Gold, Yellow, all these games on the Nintendo Switch. And the trailer was sort of kind of telling us the same thing here. It was like where I was watching this and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're doing it. They're actually doing it. We're going to get it. And then Pokemon Champions. Listen, truth, it's really cool. Pokemon Champions, it is really cool. But it was just sort of like this. I just feel like they really took advantage of our desire to play these old games. I just feel like they knew what they were doing, and then they gave us that. So that really bothered me. The thing that's pretty sad to think about is that I almost expected to see something like this from this trailer or from the Pokemon Day event, but something else was telling me that they were going to really step up their game, especially given the fact that, everybody knows about the whole Power World lawsuit. A lot going on there, and them potentially being the only threat to Pokemon. You kind of would have figured that they would have put some more effort, and I guess they're just not really too worried about competition. Leave your comments below whether you're for me or against me. I'd love to talk to it about you.